I'm Steve Rose. What sets us apart is that green is not just a buzzword like a lot of people use. Green is an operative word, and it really is easy to do. I'm going to share with you my secrets on how to do this at home. I believe that people want to live this way, they just don't know how to go about it. And that's the whole purpose of the show, to teach you how to do it. I'm going to show you the pathway to green living and organic cooking. Welcome to the Organic Rose. Welcome to the Organic Rose. Today, we are going to play with some wonderful olive oil. My favorite from McEvoy Ranch, and it's just a delicious work of art for sure. I've got some nice bread. I've got some capers, some fresh basil out of our garden, and I'm going to heat things up a bit with a nice jalapeno as well. This is going to be a dipping oil for the table. Put some capers in this mortar and pestle. Have you ever seen a mortar and pestle this small? But this is just perfect for what we're doing. As I break all the berries, they're going to release their flavor and give it a fairly intense caper flavor to it. Let's put this in. Okay. And the basil, it smells delicious. We're going to do a unique type of cut for this. It's called chiffonade. And we will go ahead and stack the leaves. Okay, and then we're going to roll them. Set this out of the way. Roll them up nice and tight. And then we're just going to run the blade through it. Let's go ahead and put those, they're kind of little ribbons of basil. Doing the chiffonade cut, you are exposing a lot of the cell wall more, and so in turn, you're releasing a lot more of the oils of the basil. And then we're going to do tiny, tiny slices of jalapeno. And I'm going to go ahead and, since I have this mortar and pestle out here, I'm going to see what happens. Trying to crush these a bit. Something may happen, something may not happen. I've never done this before. But it is breaking them up a bit. And the neat thing about doing it this way, let's put it all in there. So doing it this way, you're extracting the jalapeno oil into the olive oil, and that's going to give it some spice. So people can choose to have the jalapeno on their bread, or they can just have the spiciness of the oil. Now on to the next thing, the king of the kitchen. My favorite. Don't ever leave home without him. So I'm going to take the garlic and peel off a lot of the loose outer skin. You want to get right down to the cloves. By roasting garlic, you make it really nice and mellow, and you actually bring out the sugars in it and make it even sweeter. So now I'm going to cut, you want to cut the tips off. See how you've exposed all this now? And that can all go into my stock. Or put them in a pie pan, actually, not a plate. And this is 100% sea salt. There's lots of sea salts out there on the market from all over the world. I prefer to buy sea salt mined in the US. And then we're going to drizzle olive oil on it. And let's do a little bit of black pepper. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pop these in the oven. And there you have it. It's so good. So check this out. When you go ahead and pull a clove off, you just squeeze it right out into the bowl. All right, let's add some olive oil to this. Oh, there's a skin in there. Out of there. So now I'm breaking up the capers that I've already broken up in the mortar and pestle. The jalapenos. Basil. It's got the salt in it. Actually, no, it doesn't have the salt in it yet. We're going to go ahead and add some salt. We added the salt on top of there, but it's going to take a little bit more. This makes the best replacement for butter on your table. So here I have this wonderful French bread, this goguette sourdough that's just staring at me, begging me to dip it into this oil mix. Look at that. Mmm. You know, my grandmother used to say, olvídate, which means forget about it. It was so good. You know what? I'm going to jump in my car and run over to McEvoy and see how they make this amazing treasure of olive oil.
Maurizio. Hi. How are you, my friend?
Fine. And you?
Excellent. Good, good. I'm doing great. I'm doing great.
Good.
Being in one of my favorite places here at McEvoy Ranch, and I love their olive oil and their olives, and it's a great place to be. Kind of foggy this morning, but that can be Marin County.
It's Marin County.
Yeah.
The history started in McEvoy. You talk about McEvoy?
Yeah.
Started many years ago with Nantucket McEvoy. She died 3 years ago. And she make a school, culinary school in Italy, in Badia Coltibuono with Lorenza de' Medici. Badia Coltibuono is very monastery in Chianti Classico area, and this lady make a culinary school in Badia Coltibuono, and she was enthusiastic about olive trees, olive oil. That's the reason, because 1 or 2 years after the school, she read the book, The Feast of the Olives, and she decided to meet me, because in the Feast of the Olives there are I was like the thing, I was the expert olive oil. Fantastic.
I think you are.
I talk 1989. That was. We make a meeting in Chianti Classico. And she showed me the picture of the area before, and you know, this was a farmer cows area, and she showed me the picture. She said, Maurizio, what do you think? I can plant olive trees in this area? No, I can't. No, I don't know. I need a little bit more information about this.
Yeah, of course.
And okay, when she go back to California, I asked the soil analysis, the temperature analysis, and the result was yes, Nan, we can only there's only one problem: the soil is volcanic, and the olive oil is more. The quality of olive oil is very different than volcanic soil to calcareous soil. Normally, Italian soil, except the south Italy, is a calcareous sedimentary soil, and the olive trees prefer the calcium carbonate in the soil. And I say, okay, we can do it. You know why Nance offered me this job? Because when she was in the Davis University, and she talked with some professor in Davis University, they said, no, Nan, you can grow olives in this area. But you don't know Nantucket McEvoy, but she was very tough and very insistent.
Well, and that's probably why they have such a successful business here. Exactly.
And we started in 91, import 1,500 trees from Tuscany, only Tuscan variety because she liked Tuscan oil. We imported 1,500 trees from Pescia. Pescia is an area where there are many nursery olive trees. And we imported 1,500 trees. We put in quarantine, and we organized a little nursery, and we planted until a few years ago, with this nursery, we planted 18,000 trees.
Wow.
It's an enormous quantity of trees.
Yes.
Now we reduce the quantity of trees because we have problem with water. I remember when I was in California the first times, 27 years ago, was very rainy area, in winter time in particular. And sometimes we had some storm. Now it's so different.
Yeah, it is.
And the olive trees need a lot of water. That's the reason, because for preserve the quality, we must reduce the olive trees, the quantity. But now it works very well.
How does this beautiful growing region here, how does this compare to the growing regions of Italy?
I talk about in particular South Italy, South Tuscany, the Maremma area. Maremma is a very wide area from south of Tuscany, and the hill is like soft, like the California hills.
It's like rolling kind of.
Rolling, not very steep, and where big land is a big land where there are farmers, sheep growers, and wine and olive trees. Is a mix. Is a really particular area, and looks like Maremma, Toscana, this area. Only one different. We have a little more old castle, a little more old. But don't worry. But the landscape is so similar. So similar.
What, in your opinion, because you're the expert on this and I'm not, what do you think the best varietal to produce oil is?
We produce the best oil, and we make some special selection with Moraiolo. Moraiolo is a very antique variety. Make very small olives, very strong olives, and make a very good oil. In this kind of soil, taste the rosemary, taste a very good quality. This, for me, now is the best. After we have a Frantoio, is a famous Tuscan variety for a green oil and very with a lot of aromas of vegetable garden, and Lecino. These are three most important varieties. But from my point of view, the Moraiolo makes the best.
Makes the best one.
Yes.
Maurizio, I want to thank you. For me, I learned so much today. For our viewers, they're going to learn so much today. And it's everybody, it's a win situation. And I highly recommend, if you don't consume olive oil in your daily diet, to put it in there, because it's so beneficial for you. And like I said before, it's a great investment in your health.
Absolutely.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
We'll see you again in Italy.
Of course.
Good morning, Chef Steve. Welcome.
Thank you so much. What a beautiful place.
Thank you. Yes, I know McEvoy Ranch is a lovely, lovely place. Beautiful property.
It's magical, and you get to work in it.
I know. I feel so fortunate, really.
The history of the family is so rich, and we could spend days discussing it, but tell me something about it.
Absolutely. So the McEvoy family, they're a wonderful family. Mrs. McEvoy purchased this beautiful 550-acre property in the late 80s, early 90s, and started planting olive trees. The family is known for starting the DeYoung Museum, and they used to own the San Francisco Chronicle, so they're really embedded in the history of the Bay Area. And Mrs. McEvoy was one of the first, really one of the pioneers to reboot the olive industry in California and take it from the canned olives to making extra virgin olive oil in California. Well, our halo product is our extra virgin olive oil that we grow the olives here on the estate, and then we bring them into our frantoio where we mill them, and we sell a traditional blend extra virgin olive oil. We have a limited edition, and then a very special seasonal product, which is the olio nuovo. Which
It's my favorite.
Exactly.
Oh,
exactly.
It's so good.
It is like a cult favorite.
It really is delicious.
Because there's nothing else. There's nothing else like the new oil.
No.
It's fresh. We start selling it right in December, right after harvest, and it's really a delicacy. And,
I mean, it
and
just
doesn't
brings
last
tears
long.
to my eyes. It is so delicious.
Yep, it really is. So then all of that olive oil we sell for culinary purposes, but then we also utilize some of our olive oil for our beauty collection called Ode Natural Beauty. And we make soaps and lotions and serums and shampoos and conditioners and all of those lovely skin products that benefit from olive oil. I mean, olive oil is it's a beauty secret from thousands of years ago. Many men and women just use olive oil on its own. So the property, we're situated here in West Marin, just north of San Francisco by about 35 miles, and it's 550 acres, as I mentioned.
Right.
Most of the property is actually unplanted. Mrs. McEvoy was committed to leaving the natural stands of trees where they were and ensuring that there was ample place for wildlife and dogs to roam.
Oh, look at that.
And this is Bluebell, who runs over all 550 acres. And so in addition to the orchards and the vineyards that we have here, there's 6 ponds that provide all of the irrigation water that we use for our agricultural purposes. And then in terms of structures, what we're in right now is called the frantoio, which is where we house the kind of the heart of the ranch, which is the mill, where we mill the olives. And in addition to the frantoio, we have a number of outbuildings and places where we entertain. So it's a lovely property for entertaining, and we host quite a few workshops and events here as well. So the olive trees, we have 57 acres of organically grown olive trees on this property, and they bloom in the springtime, and then the olives grow throughout the summer, and we harvest each fall. So there's one harvest a year, and it usually starts in November. And so we harvest the olives from the trees and bring them directly to our mill. And now the time between harvest and milling is significant if you're making high quality olive oil, right? So the faster you can get the olives from the tree to the mill is in general you're more likely to create a higher quality oil. There's other factors involved as well, but speed is an important one. And so in the old days, right, they would crush the olives, and then they would smear the paste out on these big mats and then crank it down and actually press the oil out. And so that's where the term first press came from. But the mats are exceptionally hard to clean, and they're not as efficient either. So most mills now actually don't use a press. They use like what we use. We use a centrifuge. And so we crush the olives into a paste, and then we put it through what's called a malaxer, where it slowly churns for anywhere between 15 minutes to 45 minutes, depending upon the paste. And then we put it through the centrifuge and extract the oil that way.
What's the ratio of pounds of olives to olive oil?
Got it. So we When we're extracting, we get generally about 35 to 40 gallons per ton of fruit, which translates to about 3 pounds of olives, making 1 cup of olive oil. So you wonder why olive oil's
So expensive, right?
Exactly, because 3 pounds of olives just makes 1 tiny little cup of oil. And the other thing about olive oil that contributes to its expense is that when it's a natural olive oil, like an extra virgin, it's not solvent extracted. It's physically extracted, unlike many of the seed oils, like grapeseed oil is solvent extracted, right? Whereas olive oil it's a physical extraction process, and so it's a little less efficient as well. So anyway, long story is that it's a lot of olives that go into a tiny little bit.
Well, what should the average consumer look for in an olive oil?
Good question. It's, I think a lot of consumers are really confused about olive oil labeling, in particular because there are fairly loose labeling laws, particularly with imported oils. And so first and foremost, look for freshness. Freshness is crucial. Olive oil does not improve with age like wine. The closer you consume it to harvest, the better it is. So if there's a date on the bottle, a harvest date or a milling date, look for that. Some people put expiration dates, and they generally, most companies are putting about 2 years. And a well-kept olive oil should be able to last for 2 years. The enemies of olive oil are heat, light, air, and time.
So that's why the finer olive oils are always in dark glass.
Exactly, to reduce exposure to light.
Right.
Absolutely, yep. So looking for extra virgin.
Okay.
Extra virgin is the highest grade of olive oil. So there's kind of 3 categories of olive oil. There's the naturally processed olive oils, then there's the refined oils, and then there's the pumice oils. And we don't need to deal with the pumice oils. They're the lowest quality and not worth talking about. But in terms of the natural and the refined olive oils, there's 3 grades within each of those. So extra virgin is the highest grade of olive oil, and virgin is right below that, and then there's lampante. And like lamp oil, you don't want to eat that either.
Is that where the name comes from?
Yeah, exactly. It's only good for putting in the lamp, right? You don't want to use it for any other purpose. And then there's the refined oils. And the refined oils, and the reason I bring this up is because I see a lot of refined oils on the shelf. So when you see pure olive oil or light olive oil, that's actually refined oil blended with a little bit of virgin olive oil. And I say that because I feel like it's somewhat misleading. Light olive oil has the same number of calories. It's 120 calories per tablespoon, no matter what kind of olive oil you eat.
And yet you see it on the shelf, and your doctor said you need to be on a low-fat diet, so I'm gonna drink light beer, there's light olive oil, so I'm gonna go ahead and grab some of that.
Complete misnomer.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. So you should always look for extra virgin olive oil. And to be extra virgin, there's a series of laboratory tests that have to be passed to be certified extra virgin. And then in addition to that, the oil has to go through an organoleptic test, or basically a sensory panel, which is a panel of human beings who've been trained to taste olive oil. And there have to be 0 defective flavors in the oil to be labeled extra virgin olive oil.
To me, it's a very intricate property, yet it all meshes together, and there's a purpose and a reason for everything that's here. Whether it be the flowers, or whether it be the vegetables, or the fruit, or the olives.
Right.
It all comes together, and I think it's just been masterfully planned out and executed, and it's a great place to be.
It really has.
Yeah.
And Mrs. McEvoy's commitment to both sustainability and beauty blend beautifully in the property.
Olive oil is such a wonderful part of life.
It's true. It's a wonderful product that you can use for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
And ice cream.
And ice cream and dessert. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve, very much.
Hug. Now I know you.
Exactly.
Next time on The Organic Rose, we visit a large compost facility and learn how this organic material is produced.